The White House defended President Trump on Wednesday after the president mocked one of the women accusing his Supreme Court pick of sexual assault. His remarks have drawn criticism from key senators who could decide Brett Kavanaugh's fate. Nicole Killian reports from Capitol Hill.
The White House is pushing back on questions of whether it is blocking the FBI from interviewing Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, the woman accusing Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanugh of attempting to sexually assault her at a party when both were teenagers.
The president's indicated that whoever the FBI deems necessary to interview, he's fine with that.
White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders defended the president after he mocked Dr. Blasey at a Mississippi rally last night.
How did you get home? I don't remember. How'd you get there? I don't remember. Where is the place? I don't remember.
He was stating facts that were given during Dr. Ford's testimony.
The president's speech brought on criticism from some lawmakers, including undecided Republicans Jeff Flake and Susan Collins.
The president's comments were just plain wrong.
As the countdown to a possible Friday vote on Kavanaugh's nomination continues, anti-Kavanaugh protesters have confronted senators in the Capitol hallways.
Would you please leave me alone?
And in their private lives, prompting a warning from the majority leader on the Senate floor.
There is no chance in the world they're going to scare us out of doing our duty.
The White House dodged questions of whether the FBI report should be made public. Senator McConnell so far says only senators will see the report, despite calls from Democrats to release a redacted version. Nicole Killian, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Joining me now is Washington Post investigative reporter Emma Brown. She wrote the first account of Christine Blasey Ford's sexual assault allegations against Brett Kavanugh. Emma, thanks so much for being with us. President Trump, as you know, mocked Dr. Blasey Ford Tuesday night during a campaign event in Mississippi. Her lawyer called it a, quote, vicious, vile, and soulless attack. Is this the kind of backlash she was worried about when she came forward and shared her story with you?
She struggled all summer about whether or not she was going to share this story publicly. You know, it was many weeks between when she first contacted the Washington Post and when she decided to go on the record in a story in our newspaper. And I think a lot of what she feared during that time was public backlash from politicians and from regular people. And she has fielded both of those. She's, not been able to live in her home because of death threats. And then also, to have this happen at the rally last night, I'm sure was some, I don't know if she would have anticipated that, but I do think that public attacks on her memory gaps and on her credibility was something she anticipated and was worried about.
Let's turn to the FBI investigation. What is the latest that you're hearing about the status of the FBI investigation?
It sounds like people are preparing on Capitol Hill for senators to be able to view the results of this investigation soon. McConnell has said that he still expects to vote in the coming days on Kavanaugh's nomination. And so, the scope of this investigation has been a matter of great debate on Capitol Hill and really around the country as people are wondering how much new information is going to come out of this investigation and whether that information is going to be made public. And so, the idea that it would wrap up soon without lots of people who have said they have information or have already spoken publicly about Kavanaugh and about some of the claims suggests that this will be a relatively narrow scope.
Well, Senator Chuck Grassley, as you know, has asked Dr. Blasey Ford's team to give him the notes that she shared with you. Ford's attorneys have said that they'll only give those up and the polygraph notes after they're interviewed by the FBI. Do you know why Dr. Blasey Ford's team is making that demand?
Well, what I understand from them is they feel that an FBI investigation that doesn't include an interview of Dr. Ford is an incomplete investigation and shouldn't be taken seriously. That's their position. So I think they're saying to the Senate, look, if you really want to know this, then allow the FBI to come question Dr. Ford.
So in a report released late Sunday, Rachel Mitchell, the prosecutor hired by Republicans to question Christine Blasey Ford, wrote, quote, a he said, she said case is incredibly difficult to prove, but this case is even weaker than that. Could Mitchell's report, you think, influence how senators vote?
I don't know whether it will influence whether senators will vote. What I do know from my reporting is that legal experts from both parties who read this memo thought it was highly unusual for a prosecutor to sort of come to a conclusion about a claim like this without considering all the evidence, meaning interviewing other potential witnesses and gathering all the facts that would be available in a sort of normal criminal case. Of course, this is not a criminal case, and what the Democrats have been arguing is that this is a job interview, and so to apply a sort of legal standard here does it make sense?
Well, so of course one of the few questions that Mitchell did ask Judge Brett Kavanugh during Thursday's hearings was about his personal calendar from July 1982. Just remind us, what role are his calendar entries? What role is that playing in the FBI's investigation?
Right. He has provided his calendars from that summer, and he provided them as sort of exculpatory evidence to say, I wasn't at any gathering of this nature that Dr. Ford describes. Democrats and others who are sort of, interested in what could possibly have happened over this summer have really looked at the July 1st date on that calendar when he was at a party at Timmy's house. So Timmy is Tim Gaudet, who has been interviewed by the FBI. And there were a couple of other friends there who Dr. Ford had named as present at the gathering where she says she was assaulted. But it's not clear at all that date is actually when this alleged assault took place. There are many nights where there's nothing on the calendar nothing on Kavanaugh's calendar, and it's just not clear that date. That's the date when something might have happened. It does appear that is a date that the FBI is looking at, just because they have interviewed Tim Gaudet and they interviewed another friend who was supposedly there that night, Chris Garrett, who goes by the nickname Squee.
Just one last question before we let you go, Emma. We only have about 30 seconds left. I wonder, first of all, when is the last time you actually talked to Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, and do you think she would want the FBI report to be made public?
I have not asked her whether she wants the FBI report to be made public, but I think that there are many senators calling for transparency on both sides of the aisle, saying how are American people supposed to trust and take seriously this FBI investigation if they don't know what's in it.
Right. Emma Brown. Emma, we really appreciate having you with us. Thanks very much for your time.
Thanks for having me.